Welcome to my channel. My name is Andre. If this is your first time here, thanks. Go ahead and hit the like. Go ahead and subscribe and comment or share my videos. So today I want to talk about something a little bit different. Look, I've been a conservative since 2014. I used to be a Democrat. I grew up in Baltimore City, and since I've been a conservative, things have changed dramatically. And I want to share a little bit about that today. So I grew up in a single parent household. I got to see my dad and visit him like on the weekends. I got a brother, younger brother, and we have different fathers. And, growing up in Baltimore, I probably couldn't say that there's a more important thing that a boy needs besides a father. That's the most important thing. But let me walk you through just sort of how my childhood was and what I realized being a Democrat and being in a Democratic environment, so people have a better idea of how it actually is. So ever since I can remember, we lived in East Baltimore when I was a kid, and I just remember a lot of crime. I remember, my mom keeping us very close to her a lot. I remember, gunfights like in the alleyways and like where we had to get down on the floor because someone was shooting right like in our back in the alleyway. I remember a lot of rats, walking around, climbing fences just in our yard, and I'm not saying this to make it look bad. Like I'm glad I'm a warrior. I grew up, and I now realize that it made me stronger. But I'm saying this to just shine a light on the reality of it and what it was like to grow up that way. Do I feel like I'm a victim because of it? Absolutely not. Do I feel like, I can't be a president if I want? No, absolutely not. So growing up as a Democrat, growing up in a Democratic environment was very different from the life I live now. Obviously, if we're talking about, shootouts and things like that, and, lots of criminals running rampant on the streets. The one thing that I never will forget was my Aunt Margaret telling me that if we ever let Republicans get in office, we'll never have an education. If we let Republicans get in office, they'll cut off food stamps and things like that. This was the concern for one of the most successful people in my family, who worked at a place in Baltimore, Maryland, called General Motors. A lot of you may know that company. But she was the high level successful person in our family. And I think in a way she's the older sister. And in a way she sort of lived her life like, nobody else could accomplish what she accomplished because, it was just rare, I guess. She thought, in her head. So all of her younger sisters wouldn't be able to do anything like that. So basically they were on welfare. And that was the best thing to her. That was the best thing for them. Because they had a bunch of children and, they couldn't take care of them in her eyes. That's how it was. But that was the mindset. So only a few people out of each family were successful. Her son went on to be a lawyer. The rest of us sort of just were on welfare, basically. There are some college graduates in my family. I'm not one of them, gladly. I'm not really either or. I do believe in education, but I believe in reading books and self-educating myself as much as possible. Am I against college? No. Am I against schooling? No. When it's done the right way, without a liberal agenda, I'm not against it. But anyway, so, in 2008, I voted for Barack Obama because he was black. And that's the way I thought back then. That's what everybody was saying. Vote for the first black president. It's a record. It's never been done in history. We need to vote for this man. So that's why I did it, to be totally honest. Did I follow politics then? No, I didn't. Did I really care? Not really. I didn't. Did I have values that came from my grandparents? Yes, I did. So I knew what was right and what was wrong. Okay. So I'm glad I had that. So when I did finally start really looking into politics, I started to see a lot of crazy things. I moved away from Baltimore City in 2001 to Frederick, Maryland, which was still liberal, but more conservative. And I learned a lot. I learned that their streets weren't nowhere near as bad as the streets where I grew up. They were totally different, actually. And they weren't riddled with crime. People weren't, having children out of wedlock. It wasn't anything like that. What I saw was order. I saw that, they weren't tolerant of violent criminals. These are things that I learned very quickly. And this was probably an hour and maybe an hour and a half away from where I grew up in Baltimore City. So I like that. I like that idea. So, as I said, I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. Time went by. I really didn't get into politics. I really can't remember anything Barack Obama did for the country other than just talk really well, being very charismatic. That's all I remember, and sounding really good. So that, I think, drew a lot of people into him. So I became a conservative in 2014 because of my brother's wife's parents. They were still together. They believed in high education. Their children they lived in a really nice neighborhood. Their children were becoming doctors, and they had master's degrees and things like that. I really looked up to that, and I thought that was what we're supposed to be doing. And I had heard some people kind of make fun of that family because they were conservative. And so it made me wonder, what is conservatism? What is this all about? I liked the way they lived, and I could see that. And it just made me want to look into it a little further, So some time went by, and, I guess 2016 is when Trump ran. When I heard Donald Trump's name, I automatically knew if he was running for president that I was going to vote for him. I understood business. I had opened a business. I had owned a business for a while before that, and I didn't like things. I didn't like the way things were going in business in Maryland. I just felt like something was wrong. Well, there was a lot of regulation, and I didn't understand any of that. I didn't, it took a while for me to really understand what was happening. So I started studying policy and platform, and I started studying the candidates around the time when Trump was running for president. I said, I know that Donald Trump will be good for, the president. I knew that he would be good for business, but I felt like, we need a businessman to operate an economy. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I knew that, but I just knew that Donald Trump was the man for the job. I just knew it automatically. Can't explain, why I knew that before he ran for president. I liked him. I own several clothing pieces from Donald Trump's clothing line, his ties. I always looked up to him. No secret. Did I ever feel racist towards any white folk? No, not at all. I never looked at color. I never cared about someone's color. Never, not ever. And I think that is the reason why I was so open-minded, because I looked at things from a logical perspective always, even when I was young and stupid, maybe on some of the policies I didn't understand, but I always knew right from wrong. Well, fast forward, time went on by, Trump got elected. I was happy. I was so thrilled because I said, man, I felt like we were finally going to do great. And our business started to pick up. We started to hire people, and boom, COVID-19 hit. Destroyed everything. Destroyed absolutely everything. We lost most of our clients, 50% of them, top paying clients. We lost them in our company. And it was devastating. It was devastating. And I started to wonder about what was going on. I just was researching and trying to find out what in the world was happening. And so by this time, I knew that I was a conservative. I started to look at policies, and I started to follow, like, conservative speakers and finding out what their beliefs were. And they aligned right up with me. And I had already lived in a Democrat-ran city for many years, and it was awful. So I knew that my experience wasn't lying to me. And from that point on, I was just a staunch conservative. And even to this day, I'm so happy that I made that choice and that I now live a different lifestyle. It's totally different from where I used to live. A lot of my family members don't talk to me, but it's worth it. I feel like I'm on God's side. I know I am. I believe in his son, Jesus. And we just treat people like we want to be treated. We don't hate anyone, but we stand firm in our beliefs and our Christian values. And that's where we are today, and I couldn't be happier. So that's a little bit about my story, and I hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe and share the video. That's my experience of becoming a conservative. Thank you.